Hello, I'm John Caroulis, and welcome to Insight. LaSalle graduate David Jones has been a battler. He's battled discrimination, the loneliness of being one of the few blacks living at LaSalle in the 1960s, and addiction to drugs, the challenges of returning to LaSalle and finishing his degree, and possibly his toughest battle, cancer. He's also been active in his community for more than 30 years. For those efforts, he received the President's Award from LaSalle's African American Alumni Association last year. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Dave, you're not from this area. You're from where? North Central Jersey?
Yes, I'm from Somerville, New Jersey.
And back in the mid-60s, what brought you here to LaSalle?
We had a good cross-country team, and we ran Lafayette College, and I won the race, and Lafayette suggested that LaSalle would probably be interested in me.
Had you ever heard of LaSalle before?
Yes, I knew Tom Gola and the basketball, but not about the cross-country program.
Mm-hmm. So, small town, next thing you know you're in the big city, out here at LaSalle. What was it like being here in the mid-60s for you?
It was frightening. It was a little scary. I mean, I'd never been away from home, and I remember when my father dropped me off in 1964, and I went into the dorms, and I was in an upper class dorm, and as I looked around, I guess I was the only one from of African heritage, and I was kind of lonely. I mean, there was no counselors at this particular time or anyone to ease the changeover from my environment. And when we used to play football or something there, it would always come out a few little names or little you know, things that you really didn't like, but that's how kids are, I guess, when you're coming up. Mm-hmm. The social life was very different. I was used to the Temptations or perhaps Junior Walker and the All-Stars, and I would go to the dances over here, and it was all men at that particular time. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of lonely. I mean, my folks sent me here. It was like going to the Army. When you go away to school, you stayed away and you didn't come back home. And it got kind of rough. Some days I would just get up and try to walk almost to Temple, and then my feet would hurt, and I would catch the subway back. But until I met U.B. Marshall, he was playing basketball here, but there was no one that I could really identify with.
To pal around with.
Right. And I was in an upper class dorm because the decision to come to LaSalle was like 5 days before the school started. I was on my way to Kansas State, and I decided to, my coach brought me down here with my family, and we decided to go to LaSalle. And I'm thinking that this Philadelphia, the big city, was just a mirror of everything else what I was exposed to. But I hadn't any knowledge of LaSalle at a particular time, other than that it was a good school.
Look, what events did you run in track?
I was cross-country and the mile. Mm-hmm. And I probably was rated maybe about 4 or 5 in the top 5 in the state of New Jersey at that particular time.
Okay.
So it was, and Wake Forest had wanted me to be a second, I guess their first African-American athlete, and I had an offer from West Point, but I was on my way to Kansas State.
Mm-hmm. Now, you did not go the normal route of a college student, enroll, go to class, finish in 4 years. You had a few side steps.
Oh, yes. I left in my senior year. I was probably about 6 months from graduating, and I just had enough. Mm-hmm. And from there, life went spiraling down. It went directly down. I guess I went from a college senior to a prison cell in about 6 months.
What happened?
When I left here, I kind of left here like on bad terms, and it was the 60s. And this country itself was in turmoil. Mm-hmm. So the decision that I took to try to be basically, being realistic, what they would coin as a militant or mm-hmm. anyone that spoke up for his people, you were
trouble.
You were trouble. And one thing led to another thing, and then I eventually got involved in the drugs real heavy. Mm-hmm. And that landed me with a 30-month prison sentence.
Now, I know the whole story, as you'll tell our viewers, but prison was not necessarily a bad thing for you, was it? Was there some positive to come of that?
Being honest, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, other than the fact that I was away from my family.
Mm-hmm.
While there, I was able to work around civilians, and they respected me. They called me Mr. Jones, and
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing. I headed up a prison rights, chairman of the Prison Rights Committee.
Mm-hmm.
I got involved with the Toastmasters, speaking in front of people. The JCs, we did projects for children that was less fortunate outside of the institution that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And I had religious instructions basically 4 or 5 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept busy, I kept involved. I was a paralegal, and I enjoyed doing what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
other than the fact that I wasn't allowed to go home.
Right. But did you serve a full sentence?
Yes.
Okay. And after your 30 months were up, then what happened?
I went into a rehab,
Mm-hmm.
and I went into Integrity House in Newark, and I was in there for 21 months. And the last 6 months is like re-entry, so I was able to work for the program, and I just started doing community work, started doing job placement and supportive services for ex-offenders, and we even gave awards to individuals that was doing things in the community. And I spearheaded on the courthouse steps to try to get jobs for minorities,
Mm-hmm.
less fortunate individuals. And as a result, I was kind of like picked out, you know, he's a troublemaker. Even though what I was doing was good, it had gotten to the point that, well, a Salle College graduate, I couldn't even work on a garbage truck at that particular time for political reasons. But I enjoyed doing what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that if you can't help anyone today, you know, that's what we're here for. Man is here to help or to teach.
Okay.
And I was blessed with the fact that when I came here, Dr. Halpern, he how to negotiate, how to be able to get the maximum and walk a thin line and get respect from both sides when it was over.
Okay. We'll pick up on that. When we come back, more with David Jones and his strange long trip to LaSalle and back. Please join us.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
I knew at an early age that I had auto racing in my blood. From the time I was 3 years old, racing is all I ever dreamed about. I started off in the Midwest before I got the opportunity to go NASCAR racing. It's taken a lot of hard work and determination, but it's paid off. I'm living my dream. And now I have the honor of racing in Air Force Blue. You can do anything if you set your mind to it. This brought you.
Welcome back. We're talking with David Jones, LaSalle graduate, class of 7.
Drugs, like any dependency, is difficult. You have to work at it. I mean, you have to listen to whoever's your counselor, or first you got to make up in your mind that you want to stop, that you need to stop. And for me, I looked at my life when I was incarcerated, and I said to myself, my father and my forefathers did all of this to get free, and I'm just giving my life away, just being in the same scenario that they was fighting for. So in this program, it was a drug-free environment, and I was in a capacity that it always, I guess maybe it's LaSalle in me, always got to go to the top. I was in charge of 68 people at a particular time, and it was a lot of pressure, but it made me focus on myself and on doing a good job, because the people that put me in this capacity, I wanted to show them that I could do it. And I've watched a lot of people come in and out of these programs, and some were forced by court, and some really didn't have any idea that they wanted to stop. They were just there to get cleaned up for their jobs. But me, I looked at it, I says, David, you was put on this earth for something better than this. You wasn't put on here to be a drug addict. You were put on here for a reason. And I really wanted to find out that reason. And I used to pray, and I could almost see that I knew I was special, but I had to do something different in my life. And one was to not be involved with drugs. Then you still have to go back and find out what were you put here for.
Any answers to that question? Why you think you're here?
I know what I'm here for. One day, I'm going to see our Maker, and I want to be able to say that I did something positive. I helped someone. Decided that you don't have to use drugs. You do not have to use drugs. You don't have to be sick for yourself. You don't have, every situation learn that no matter what your ethnic background is, or no matter what your religious persuasion is, that if you have to, if you're hurt, if you got to go over a hurdle that much and the other guy has to much, prepare yourself for that hurdle. Don't start complaining that individual or that individual has it easier than you.
Now, I understand you're cancer-free now, right?
Yes.
But there was a few times when you didn't know if you were going to make it, right?
Oh, I was prepared to put out the black suit. That's what you were talking about. I had like 4 chemos, 10 radiations, 2 platelet transfusions, hemorrhoids that was big as grapes. I don't mean to be, I have to be honest with this, blood in my urine, bacteria. The cancer had put me on a walker. It had ate through my, my pelvis. In fact, I still have a fracture in the pelvis now because of the cancer. I can remember at 4 o'clock in the morning crawling on the floor because I couldn't walk and I couldn't take it any longer. And I looked up, and I consider myself very thick-skinned, but I saw a beam and a rope. And if that rope could have came down and went right around my neck without any pain, I would have taken it. But then I crawled back on the floor, and my mother was going to the bathroom, and she says, "What's the matter, son?" And I told her to get my sister, and my sister took me to the hospital. And I went to the hospital, and I was in there like, I guess total 43 days. And 14 days it was of constipation. I had a bacteria in that they couldn't respond. And I'd come to the realization because the bone cancer had, I couldn't walk. But I was blessed to have an individual at Stacy McElroy. She stayed with me. I was separated, and she stayed with me and slept with me in the bed, and when my hair fell out, she made me get up to wash. She would always she wiped the tears off of my eyes. And I don't see how anyone could go through cancer without having faith. You know, people used to come by and says, David, you've been in some things and you're going to make it. But there was no one there when I put those blankets over my head at night, and I cried to God to give me strength to go through another section, another minute, just to go. I never said to myself, I never said, why me? Why not me? I'm no different than anyone else. I'm not the first person who had to battle cancer. I'm not
or the last.
Or the last. But I know one thing, you cannot give up with cancer. You cannot just sit here and think it's going to go away or want it to go away. You got to fight it. And then when an individuals from the church that I was going to came, and they prayed, and for the first time in about 4 weeks I could stand up. And he told me, he says, I'm a doctor, Dave. He said, but God's going to heal you, but you got to go through this process. And I had to learn, I don't care if you're 4'8" or 6'4", you have to go through this process.
Do you talk to cancer patients now?
Yes.
And do you tell them, if I can do it, you can do it? Or is there another modus operandi, another way you tell people?
Well, I just tell them my situation, and I tell them that if you have faith, that's the first thing. Do not give up, because it takes you morally, physically, and spiritually. And if you start feeling sorry for yourself, it consumes you.
Okay. All right. When we come back, more with David Jones and his contributions to the community. Please join us.
Stormed beaches and freed countries. They've raised our flag and our hope. They've been called leathernecks. They've been called devil dogs. But above all, they're called Marines.
Hi, I'm Eddie Montgomery.
And I'm Troy Gentry.
As Montgomery Gentry, we have traveled all over this great country, living out our dreams, playing music.
The road has taken us from small town county fairs in Iowa to huge arenas in California.
No matter where we go, we are reminded of our blessings and how proud we are to be Americans.
But most importantly, we're proud of our men and women serving in the military nationwide throughout the world. Without them, we wouldn't have the freedoms we enjoy right now.
Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Understanding connections between people and places is critical. So we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free action kit. Help kids understand their world today so they can succeed in it tomorrow.
You don't have to knock yourself out to prevent diabetes. Get real. If you're over 45 and overweight, you can prevent diabetes. Lose 5 to 7% of your body weight, get 30 minutes of physical activity 5 days a week, and eat healthy. Take the first step. Talk to your healthcare provider. Prevent diabetes.
Welcome back to Insight. We're talking with David Jones, class of '75, and last November, David was honored by the university's African American Alumni Association with its President's Award for his community service. In fact, we've got a photo of that from the ceremony. David in the middle, of course, surrounded by Sherilyn Rush and Dana King, the president of the association. David, why don't you were cited for your community work and the time you've donated. So tell us something about that, the time you've given, the community service you do back home in North Jersey.
In Somerville.
Somerville.
Well, I love doing that. That's what I think I was put here for, to do, to assist somebody or to guide them. I've been blessed with the fact that I've been able to, LaSalle took a gamble on me and allowed me to, by giving me this scholarship to get educated. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to do some things, and the education that I've gotten in terms of negotiating with community, let's say the government or whatever, I had to be a liaison at a particular time. The job placement was part of LaSalle's training that I had. Mm. So what I would do is I would go to a company and I would ask them, could I assist you in doing some placement? I'd have to sell myself first. Mm-hmm. And once I sell myself, I would find out the type of individual that would fit into there, so it would be a positive result. So I would be able to put 2 or 3 other individuals in this capacity. And I ran into the, I guess, state wrestling champ from New Jersey, and he needed a job. He was lost. I placed him in this particular job, and today he's still there 34, 35 years later. Assisted him in getting his house, and in fact, he came to the awards dinner with me. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how you can place people into jobs. Now he's driving an $80,000 Vet, and I'm into my 150 Ford truck. But I'm happy. I'm happy for him. I assisted other people in coming out of incarceration to work for the Department of Transportation. I negotiated, excuse me, with the mayor and hiring a few individuals uptown that are still there working. Mm-hmm. And when you do community work, sometimes if you step on the wrong people's toes, it's pressure that goes with that, but you have to be committed.
Right. Now, we said African American Alumni Association because you are an alumnus of LaSalle. Even
yes.
though you left at the end of your senior year or sometime there, you came back and finished. And why did you choose to come back to LaSalle to finish? Why didn't you go someplace closer to home in Jersey and finish your degree?
Well, this is where my heart was. This is where I started. I could see that it put pain on my mother and father's face when they were proud that I was going to LaSalle and that I never finished. And then in a little town that you feel incomplete unless you finish. I did. So I decided with 4 children that it was time for me to go back. And what I would do was, it would take me 3 hours to get to LaSalle. I would walk uptown and take a bus to New Brunswick, take a train from New Brunswick to Trenton, and if the train was on time, I was able to hook up from Trenton to North Philadelphia Station. Mm-hmm. Then I would take a subway from North Philadelphia Station, either walk up or catch the bus up to LaSalle. It would roughly take me 3 hours, and sometimes I only had a 40-minute class. And when I got here, I would thank God for Dwight Evans, because when I came here, I remember one day I didn't even have enough money to eat lunch, and I was just standing there, and he came over to me and he says, come on, let's have lunch. I want to meet you. And from there, we developed a type of relationship, and I kind of like, when I did my final exams, I stayed up all night with him and Lafayette Tony Barnes. I guess he's a lawyer in Washington, D.C. now. But,
so you stayed up night cramming with these guys?
Yes, yes.
Did you sleep over?
Yes, I stayed over. or stayed over at Tony Barnes's in West Philadelphia. Dwight, the three of us. And in the morning we got up, and I think we ate at I think it was Father Grayson's place, or it was something where they had, you get in the soup line, you get in the line and you ate. Yes, yes, and we ate, and then he invited me to a couple dances, functions that were here. I was impressed because when I left, when I was here before, we had suit and ties, and it was all men, and this time they had young ladies that was here, and they were doing something different. They had alumni association, and I was impressed. But I still had in my mind from the old LaSalle, as far as that I was never going to come back here. And when Dwight was elected for this award, that's when I said, because Dwight was getting an award, I came back. That's when I met Cheryl Lynn Russ, and that's when I started getting involved with the mentoring program and doing different things. And I met Dana King, who I had the false impression of her until I met her. I thought she was kind of soft, but she was direct, and she laughs at me now. And then I met Mike, the president.
Mike Mosley?
Yes, and then he introduced me to Dan, and then I guess I was like real close to Dana. She always wanted to know how I was doing, and then when I got ill, they called and they prayed for me and they concerned for me. But this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to finish what I started.
One last question. Commencement, Convention Hall, what was it like for you to be there, knowing that it had been a long trip but you finally made it? What was going through your mind at that ceremony?
You know, I would have to get almost emotional to even think about that right now, because I don't know if I could duplicate that feeling. The closest I came to that feeling was when when I was receiving this award. It was everything. It was all worth it. And you sit there and you just say, I did it, God, thank you.
Okay, and on that note, we'll wrap it up. See you next time on Insight. David?